Hey everyone, how we doing on another Saturday? Another Saturday here, talking all about post-production, and today we're going to talk about the new MacBooks, the M5 MacBooks that came out, plus the new Neo one that came out. Good afternoon from the Netherlands. Already spring by your outside. And our friend from the X platform, good morning, Richard. Absolutely. I'm just going to take care of that. We are... let's just do this. Let's just do this. Oh, yes, absolutely. We are live indeed. Did you buy one? Did I buy one? We're going to talk about that in this episode. What's going on with the M5 Max and the M5 Pro and the Neo, and I'm kind of surprised. I'm kind of surprised at the Neo response. The Neo MacBook Neo, the cheap one that they brought out for $599. I'm kind of surprised at the response about that. I mean, I would never use something with 8 gigabytes of RAM with Final Cut Pro, but some people say, yeah, it'll work. I would never use something with only 8 gigabytes of RAM. Not with Final Cut. I still get a memory leak with Final Cut Pro. It'll be running. Next thing I know, I get a pop-up on my screen. It says, you've run out of application memory, and the big hog is Final Cut Pro. And it's not plugins, because I wasn't using, it just happened this week, and I wasn't using any plugins. I don't know what's going on with that. It's been going on for years. I've seen that for years, that situation where it runs out of application memory, they call it. I guess it's borrowing some from the SSD. I guess. Hello from Denmark. Even though I am not in the market for a new Mac, having purchased a Mac Studio M2 Ultra at a great price last year, I'm really looking forward to the reviews of the M5 Pro Macs. Yeah. So I haven't decided. Here's somebody said, did I get one yet, Mr. Triumph? I have not decided. I was going to get the new M5 Max MacBook Pro, and then when we were talking about it, when I was live streaming about it, asking people to help me decide, somebody said, well, if you're not using the MacBook Pro, why would you get a MacBook Pro? I have a 2021 M1 Max that I use, but right now I just have this screen. It's my third screen. I have a screen here, I have a screen over there, and then I have another third screen down below, which I keep notes and stuff on so I can just look down. And I don't use this MacBook Pro except when I live stream it from the field, like at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. And if I go to NAB this year, I'll live stream for sure. I usually live stream the most from my hotel room when I have a nice, strong Wi-Fi signal. So I'm not sure about NAB yet. I'm like 50-50, could go one way or the other. Because I only go to NAB for, I really like the tunnel. I really like going through the tunnel, and I always film that. It goes from the north central hall to the west hall. The tunnel. It's pretty very, very cool. It's very futuristic going through there. And then I'd go around, of course, Blackmagic Design. I love stopping at their booth. They have a lot of information and tutorials, and a lot of people out on the floor. They have the most expansive footprint at NAB. It's gigantic. So I enjoy Blackmagic. There's a couple other places that I enjoy, but mostly I just go to if I go to NAB, it's because of Final Cut Pro stuff. So we will have to see how that works out. Let me just pull up something here. Me outline. There. And we'll see what happens. Me outline. So we've got some warm weather here on the East Coast instead of all that snow we were getting. But they say that snow is not out of the question yet for March. They're saying there might be another snow coming up in the next 10 days. You'll have to see. I'm not going to put my snowblower away yet. So everybody saw that Apple released the M5 Pro and M5 Max MacBook Pro this week. And then the last thing, it was kind of strange to me because they had this event in New York and they had this event in London and had this event some other places. It was not streamed live. And not that I would, but if I had gone to something like that and they introduced the Neo, which is the bottom of the line MacBook. It's the bottom of the line. It's the cheapest. It has only 8 gigabytes of memory, and you cannot update it. It has a 256 gigabyte SSD, maximum 512. And it's for, I would say it's for high school kids. That's what I think the market would be. We'd be, high school kids, maybe even grade school. And they'll probably sell a lot of them, which is good. But some people, I guess, are saying that they'd run Final Cut Pro on it. I'm like, really? I mean, if it runs on it, that's okay. But my projects, there's no way I could run my projects, most of them, with 8 gigabytes of RAM. I just can't do it. I have 64 on my Mac Mini, which is over here. I have 64 gigabytes on my Mac Mini. And like I said, sometimes Final Cut Pro uses all that up, and next thing I know, I'm out of application memory. And Final Cut Pro is the big hog. I don't know why. It's been like a memory leak for a long time. I've had that for years. For years, happened to me in Final Cut Pro. And I'm not using third-party plugins that might have a memory leak, because some of them have as well. This is just happened last Saturday or last week. Very basic project. Came back to my Mac Mini, and it's, the warning's up there. You've run out of application memory. I had to force quit Final Cut Pro to get me back on my memory. I don't know what's going on there. No idea. It's memory leak for sure. It's never been fixed. So I've been expecting Final Cut Pro 12.0.1 because of bugs that I've seen reported multiple times from multiple different people. And still no 12.0.1. Now, it's been over a month. It's been 5 weeks. That was weird. It's been 5 weeks. So I'm kind of surprised. This version 12 came out on January the 28th. So February the 28th is 4 weeks, and now we're into the first week of March the 7th. So it's been 5 weeks, and we still don't have a bug fix. I'm kind of surprised. But we'll get it. Maybe this week, maybe next week. Is anybody else getting a new Mac? I mean, I'm in the market. Here's what I did. I priced the MacBook Pro, the Max, with top-of-the-line CPU, GPU, 2 terabyte SSD, because my Mac Mini has a 2 terabyte, and that's been fine. I don't want to spend $600 to go, $600 to go from a 2 terabyte to a 4 terabyte. That means $600 for 2 terabytes. No, I'm not going to do that. It's too much. I have a OWC 4 terabyte Thunderbolt 5 SSD that I have hooked to my Mac Mini as the main storage besides the internal storage. And that's been fine. It's very, very fast. And I have RAIDs. As a matter of fact, you know what? I have a 56 terabyte RAID 5, and I have 2 much, much older RAID 5s. A Promise 2 RAID 5, which it's a 4-drive RAID 5, and then I got a G-Tech 4-drive RAID 5. These are very, very old. They might be 6, 7, 8 years old, maybe, yeah. And I haven't hooked them up for a long time. Well, I went online to the Promise website and looked if they have new drivers for more modern Mac OSs, and they had instructions, and I followed the instructions, and I'll be darned if they didn't mount on my Mac Mini. So now I got them up and running. I can use them on my M1 MacBook Pro because that's from 2021, and I have 3 different operating systems on the MacBook Pro, 3 different ones. So I could mount them on that. I knew that. So anyway, I mounted them. Now I have another 10 terabytes of storage space as a RAID 5. So, have you noticed the price of hard drives has gone up dramatically? As a matter of fact, I've gotten many of these. Let me get one of these to show you. I have literally a lot of these 8 terabyte Seagate SSDs. They're USB 3. I have literally, I don't know, 20 to 30 of them on this side, and I have a bunch of other hard drives over here. And I catalog them all with Neo Finder, so I know what's where, and then I back them up on LTO9 tape. And the LTO9 tapes hold, let me see what they hold. They hold 18 terabytes. It looks like this. It's an LTO9. This is the brand that came with my drive, so this is the brand that I'm sticking with, IBM. LTO storage, LTO9, holds 18 terabytes. 18 terabytes, if I'm not mistaken. 18. I don't fill them up all the way, but I fill them up pretty good. That's one of my main backups. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 LTO9 tapes filled up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, LTO9 5 filled up. I think 9. And then I have 3 more that are empty. Thanks for your RTTV. Okay, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to upgrade my Mac, my Mini to M1 to M4 and my iPad 6, both in summer, fall. Yeah, I was really excited when that MacBook Pro came out because they were giving me $1,220 for my 2021, which is 5 years old, as a trade-in. So that brought the price down, so it's reasonable. I think $3,500, something like that. It was close to $5,000, and it was close to $5,000, and that brought it way down. But I talked myself out of it. I can always do it if I want to, but I talked myself out of it. Do you ever consider M2 NVMe drives, SSD drives? They're pretty much as fast as internal SSDs with Thunderbolt 5. Yes, I have so many external SSDs right now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 sitting on my next to my Mac Mini Pro. I have one hooked up, which is the OWC one. The other ones aren't as fast, but I agree. Those M2 are very, very fast. Personally, I'm in the market for iPhone 18 Pro Max when they release in the Studio Display XDR in 2027, unless the LG monitor with display panel used most likely by Apple turns out to be cheaper. Yeah, I just use it. 34-inch ultra-wide LG, is it? I think it's an LG. Yeah, I think it's an LG. LG monitor is my main monitor. Then I have another one over here on the side, and then I have my MacBook Pro with the 16-inch monitor directly below. So, hey, by the way, if you've watched these streams ever, you know I'm a big fan of LumaFusion. It's on sale right now for $30% off. So instead of $29, one-time fee, no subscription for the LumaFusion. Instead of $29 one-time fee, it's now like $19 for 2 days. I think today's the last day. Yesterday and today, LumaFusion is on sale for $19. Just buy it. Don't even think about it. Just buy it. $19, one-time fee. They have add-on packages if you want different add-on packages. Those are also a one-time fee. And LumaFusion is a great NLE for your iPad, for your iPhone. Final Cut Pro is not on the iPhone. It's on the iPhone, iPad, Chromebooks, the other brand of phones, I forget what the heck they are. And it runs on all that. And it runs on a Mac. They have a Mac, the version, it's all for one price. So $19, LumaFusion's on sale. Today's the last day. Highly recommended. They're a great company, great people to work with. I've had them on the show many, many times. Let me go to the backyard here. Yeah, it's been a gray day for a while. It's been a gray day for a while. Let me just pull that over. So, no birds there. No birds there. Huh. It's been kind of warm, but it's been very drizzly and foggy for like 3 or 4 days. Now, this is something I did not know. This is something I did not know. Here, comment here. Unfortunately, they have stopped.
3 or 4 days.
Let me just turn that off. Let's get the heck out of there. Unfortunately, they have stopped verifying LumaFusion for the Mac, but yes, I love it on the iPad. I haven't used it on my iPhone yet. I did not know they stopped verifying it for the Mac. I did not know that. I did not know that they stopped verifying it for the Mac. It's mainly a touch interface, so using it on the Mac was never as optimal as the iPad and the phone. It's every feature on the iPad version is available on the phone. It's just in different places and different layout and stuff. And I've edited. The cool thing about, especially when I'm on the road, I shoot 4K video with my iPhone, and I can edit it right in LumaFusion on my iPhone. I don't have to export anything. I don't have to worry about SSD drives, although you can use an SSD drive with LumaFusion. Now, I did not know they have stopped verifying LumaFusion for the Mac. It's not disappointing from them. It's just disappointing the news. I'd never used it on the Mac. So I use it on my phone and an iPad, like I said. But it's on sale. Let me pull it. Do I have that over there? I got notes down here. Let me see my notes. Yeah, right there. Let's pull that up. Huh. New application open to... What the heck does that mean? That is bizarre. Huh. Let me just hold this. Edit link. Okay. Oh, we're not going to do that. Cancel. It's this link. It's a YouTube link. Has this gigantic copy URL attached to it. That is really bizarre. I'm going to there we go. Let's try this again. There we go. So here's the deal. They got 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. And let's watch a little bit of their video, and that's why they're celebrating.
That calls for a sales celebration. Now you can get LumaFusion, the professional mobile editing app, and all its advanced features for a whopping 30% off. But hurry, this deal won't last long and will soon be lost on the cutting room floor. So grab your chance to make something amazing and discover the joy of editing.
Okay, sorry. Got it. Your M1 MacBook Pro, the best case justification for keeping your M1 is that glorious 4 terabytes of storage. The average Final Cut Pro user dreams of having that much internal storage. You're absolutely correct. That 4 terabytes that I got on my original MacBook Pro it's come in very handy. I have three different Mac OSs on my MacBook Pro with 3 different volumes. And I can boot into any one of them by just holding the option. I think it's the option key when you boot up. And I can boot into any one of them. So all my legacy hardware, all my legacy plugins, everything works with the right Mac, booted into the right Mac OS. I preferred using LumaFusion on my M1 MacBook Air instead of Final Cut Pro due to its interface. When I got my M16 M1 Pro, I switched to Final Cut Pro due to the bigger real estate of that computer. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, we got to do this. How do we do this? There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I got a... let's do this too. To remind people if you're watching, that's weird. Seen unlock. Oh. Okay, that's interesting. Here we go. YouTube.com Richard Taylor TV. That's what we're actually. That's not right. They changed that. You have the @ symbol in there now. Let's try that. There we go. Now wait a minute. Oh, here we go. This is what I was trying to do. Thumbs up, subscribe, and click the notification bell. Now, I originally made this as a ProRes 4444 file to preserve the transparency. This one is HEVC, which also preserves the transparency. So I have a video up on my YouTube channel on how to do that, how to convert ProRes 4444 files into HEVC, much smaller file sizes, and you can still preserve transparency. So that's pretty cool. That's what I did this morning. That's what I did this morning. That's one of the things I did. So when I have, over the years, I've done Final Cut Pro tutorials. I think my top one has like 32,000 views. It's been a while. But what I don't like doing tutorials that everybody else does. So when Final Cut Pro 12 came out, there's a dozen different people doing the same tutorials, same features over and over and over. And I don't like doing that. What I do like doing is when I find little secrets to the workflow, something not obvious perhaps, and certainly something that everybody else hasn't covered, and 12 other people haven't covered. There's nothing wrong with them covering it. It's just that it's the same. We had 3 features in Final Cut Pro 12, main features, and we had 12 people covering those same 3 features. There's a couple of other ones that I really like, that are more expansive and more of a deep dive. Steve Martin and Mark Spencer, of course, did a deep dive, and I think there's another one that I really like that has more of a, not just, as Steve called it, fluffy 10-minute tutorials. I'm not, listen, they're fine. They're fine. But I might do some more tutorials. There's a couple of things that I've noticed. Well, like the QuickTime one I just talked about. You can do a HEVC video with transparent background. You don't have to do it in ProRes 4444. That's one of the, got to keep track of my time. That's one of the tutorials that I did because I saw, let me make these in HEVC. So I did a tutorial. I did a tutorial on how to do Firewire capture. I did it on my Mac Mini. People were saying, oh, there's no more Firewire, no more Firewire. Of course there's Firewire. Just don't update your Mac OS. They stopped, just because Final Cut Pro stopped supporting it doesn't mean there's no more Firewire. Of course there's Firewire. You have to just use your brain. Don't update the OS. Don't update the Final Cut Pro. Freeze that version, and you'll always be able to capture via Firewire. I have hundreds of mini DV tapes. Do I need to capture them all? No. Sometimes I need to capture them. So those are the kind of, I like to eke out hidden things or little things that I've discovered with my workflow over the years. So I'm going to probably do a few more of those coming up. Let the rush of everybody doing the Final Cut Pro 12 tutorials, because they're just doing all the same features. They're showing you just different ways, different personalities doing the 12, which are fine. Like I said, I usually watch Steve Martin and Mark Spencer, Ripple Training. Did you create your subscribe button in Pixelmator, or did you import one from the web? No, I got a third-party plugin that has a whole suite of social media, YouTube things, and I got it specifically because of that one, because of this one, because it has all three: thumbs up, subscribe, and notification. I got the plugin specifically for that one. That's not, I didn't create that in Pixelmator, no. I do like Pixelmator Pro. Now, here's something else. So this week, there was somebody on X, and they were saying they don't know how to cancel. They somehow subscribe to Apple Creator Studio, and they don't know how to cancel. They can't see it anywhere that they can cancel it. So I sent her, I said, open up your iPhone, go to General Settings, and then look up your account and then subscriptions. It should be in there. Well, she said it wasn't in there. I said, okay. Then we went to iTunes. Same thing. Go to the account, log into the account, and go to General Settings and look for, there's two fields, subscriptions in iTunes. And when I say iTunes, I mean the App Store. Sorry, the App Store. There's two subscriptions. One was, there's two places to look for subscriptions. There's a subscription ones and there's a purchased ones. And as I was walking her through it, I did it myself. Okay, in my subscriptions and in my purchased, there is no record of any final, let me pull this up, of any purchase of Apple Creator Studio. Okay, let me just do this while I'm talking to you. There's no record of it anywhere. Yeah, I think I got to sign in. Let me just show you this, so in case you. I think that's it. Huh. Poof. All right, let me look it up. Because I'm going to show you, I was kind of surprised. There's two different places, and so I called up Apple Care and got them on the line. I called up Apple Care and got them on the line. Locked notes. Here we go. Let me pull that up. So I have a wireless keyboard, and one of the things, let me pull that up, copy. One of the things that I always want on my wireless keyboard is the thumbprint thing. Let me pull this up. Here we go. Now this is interesting because it says two different things. Subscriptions. Let me go back here. Purchase history. Well, let me I don't want to go into my account settings, but I'm going to show you. So in my App Store account settings, under purchased and under subscriptions, there is no entry that I subscribe to Apple Creator Studio. There was no entry in either one of those places. I had Apple Care on the phone the other day, and the problem is, which is because I didn't subscribe. I didn't even do the trial. I didn't do either one. Okay? But this is what it says. And I kept going back and forth with them about it. Look at this. So it says purchased by Richard. Purchased by Richard. And look what it says. Final Cut Pro Create, compressor, it says open, main stage, open, motion, open, Pixelmator Pro, open. It says purchased by Richard, okay? It is not, I'm going to turn that off. It is not, I did not purchase, I did not even try. I did not sign up for the 30-day free trial. I did download Keynote, Numbers, and Pages, which are the free updates included in the subscription. I did not agree to a subscription, and I did not agree to the free trial. Either one of those things. It says purchased by Richard. It doesn't say you download, it says purchased. Purchased means money that I agreed to pay for them. It is not. You go to your account settings, it is not in there, either in the purchased or the subscription. And I went over this with Apple Care, and I told them to make sure that they put a note on my account that I called in about this. So the wording, it should say downloaded or not purchased. It was not purchased. So, little quirk that I ran into yesterday, or this week when I was trying to help somebody. Look at that. Does it also list free apps? I don't know, but it's the purchased that I was questioning. I said, it's not in my account settings. It's not in my purchased. It's not in my subscription. But that thing says purchased. Pixelmator Pro has the best repair brush of any photo app that doesn't come from Adobe. I love the edge detection of Pixelmator repair tool. Infinity has the best crop straight. That's very cool. Does it also list free apps? I don't know. Purchased for free. It's not, that's not purchase. Purchase means money, exchange of money. You could say download for free, but not purchase. Purchase is an act that I'm giving them money for an app. Anyway, they said don't worry about it. It's awkward wording or whatever. If it's not in your account settings, you didn't purchase it. You didn't even try the trial, because I didn't. I did not agree to the trial because I figured when I get a Mac Pro I mean, I get a Mac Mini Pro or a MacBook Pro. Now I'm thinking about I'm going to get a Mac Studio, and I'll tell you why. I priced, the M5 is not out yet. The M5 Mac Studio is not out. The M5 Mac Mini Pro is not out. I went back to the M4, to the Apple Store, and I priced the Mac Mini Pro that I have. I repriced it. I got the price. Then I went back in and did the same thing for the Mac Studio. Same specs, same SSD, same amount of memory, different processors, obviously. I was kind of surprised. The Mac Studio, the M4 version, was only a couple $100 more than the Mac Mini Pro, with the same specs except for processor, GPU, etc. So now I think I'm going to get the Mac Studio with similar specs, like I said, for the Mac Mini Pro. I think now I'm looking at that. Now I want to do that. And that's why I locked it. There we go. So that's what I'm thinking now. At this point, I want to do something. I want to get an M5 something. And I'll trade in my Mac Mini Pro, a year old, probably, or I'll sell it, one or the other. And I don't think I'm going to get a MacBook Pro. I just don't use it. It just sits on my desk. I use it as a desktop computer, except when I travel to NAB or the Creative Summit. Then I take it with me so I can stream live from the hotel room. Because the software I use, Ecamm Live, requires a Mac. It doesn't work on the Mac Pro. I mean, on a iPad Pro. Plus, iPad Pro is really too small for what I do. I take the iPad Pro as a second screen in the hotel room when I stream from there. It comes in very handy for that. So, who else is getting anything? Is anybody else getting any M5 Max? Or are you getting the Neo? I'd like to hear from Neo people, because to me, Neo doesn't have enough memory or enough power to run Final Cut Pro for what I do. It just doesn't. I mean, the Neo is a entry-level Mac Pro. Entry-level. It has, this is a killer. It only has 8 gigabytes of RAM. You can't get any more than that. The maximum hard drive is 512. You come to the 256, you can upgrade it to 512. That's the max. There's no other choices. So it's an entry level. It's like a Trojan horse for people that would buy a Chromebook. Apple has, for the first time, entered that market. The sub 1,000, way sub 1,000. I mean, if you're going to school, $499. It's a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. But just be aware there's lots of limitations. There's only 2 USB-C ports, not Thunderbolt, 2 USB-C, and only one of them is USB 3. The other one is USB 2. So, I mean, I would never consider that computer for working with Final Cut Pro, but some people like that. So I'd be curious if anybody's using it with Final Cut, how it's doing for them. Disappointed there's no new Apple TV. The Apple TV rumors have been around for years, right? Isn't that correct? They've been going around for years, and we still don't have whatever they're looking for. Let's do this. kind of gray. All right, so yeah, we got, just looked at my App Store purchase. I have only the versions of Final Cut Pro Motion Compressor that was in my education version, which I bought roughly 4 years ago. I also have the new versions of Pages. Yeah, I have the new versions of Pages, Numbers, and I think Keynote is the other one that's free. You have to update them through the Apple Creator Studio to get the most current version, but you don't have to subscribe to get the most current versions of those three. So I downloaded those three, but it also put Final Cut Pro, Compressor, Motion, Main Stage. I didn't download any. I downloaded Final Cut Pro and I deleted it. I did not download Compressor. Well, it says open. Compressor says open, Main Stage says open. I never even used Main Stage. Motion says open for the Apple Creator Studio versions. I've bought all those. I have standalone versions except for Main Stage. I never needed that, so I didn't buy it. Now, we've had Final Cut Pro standalone for 15 years, and I don't mind paying some money for that standalone version. There's no way to do that except if you got the subscription and used it for 1 or 2 months, then you're contributing to further development of Final Cut Pro and Motion and Compressor and stuff. So I don't mind doing that, but there's nothing in the Apple Creator Studio versions of those apps that I'm really that interested in springing $13 a month for, because I wouldn't get it by the year. I would get it for $13. I'd pay the $13 a month, turn it on for 1 month, turn it off for 2 months, turn it on for whatever I wanted to do. You could turn it off for 2 weeks and then resubscribe it for after 2 weeks. So it's very easy to do. So has anybody got the Neo? Is anybody planning on buying the Neo and using with Final Cut Pro? I'll be curious if anybody has. Let me go over here. Well, look at that. I'm just trying to catch up on the live stream. I like to keep track of it. Here we go. There we go. Let's keep track of it. My Apple 4K is doing everything I needed to do. Would rather have a new version of the HomePod with the features that would enable me to use them as speakers, rear speakers as well. Absolutely. SSD prices are going to go a few months weekly. Not only SSD prices, a regular spinning hard drive. I was going to talk about that. I forgot it. So I've got these 8 terabyte drives that I back up. It's my second backup besides LTO tape and besides Backblaze. So I have a physical copy of the material. And I have 40 or 50 of those, 40, maybe 40 drives, 8 terabyte USB 3 drives. Those prices have gone up from normally I get them on sale for like $150 for 8 terabytes. Now they're $220 in 1 week. So all that stuff is going up. The shortage, whatever, AI is doing it. Mac memory, third-party plugins slow my Intel Mac down, I find, by switching workspaces from editing to titles config. Minimize the slowdowns from switching between clips, browsers, and titles. That's interesting. 48 terabyte Thunderblade was $999 last year. Now $1199, $12,000 from OWC. Yeah, that's an incredible. That's another jump. That's $2,000. So yeah, everything's being hit by it. I expect, that's why they're not having a 512 gigabyte memory option for the studio anymore. I don't know who in the heck would get that, but somebody did. I have an M1 MacBook Air with 512 gigabyte SSD and 16 memory for when I need light and nimble, so a Neo would be a side grade. It would be a downgrade. You can't get 16 gigabytes of memory in a Neo, only 8. You could get the 512 SSD, but only 8 gigabytes of RAM, or whatever the heck it's called these days. What is it called? What is it called? I don't even know. So anyway, I have a 3 to 4 tier system for backing up. I have multiple SSDs. I have 2 terabytes in my mini, and I have 4 terabytes with an OWC Thunderbolt 5 drive SSD, which is very fast. So, but I have LTO9 tapes that I back up everything important. I have a bunch of those. I have Backblaze, which backs up everything that's mounted on my Mac Mini. I have 8 terabyte drives that I back up everything, and I have a 56 terabyte RAID 5, Thunderbolt RAID 5, that I have everything backed up to, that I use. So I have plenty. If anyone is here for Final Cut Pro, a Neo is not for you. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought, but people were pushing back. Oh, that Neo, it can work. It's 8 gigabytes of RAM, and I have whatever. I'm kind of surprised. But people were saying, no, it will work. Neo is great, but not for pro work in photo video. That's what I think. Yeah, it's great. It's a very cool move for Apple to get that entry-level money. People that says, I just want a Chromebook. Now you have a choice. Now you can get a Mac. If you're a student, it's $499. It's $499. So, I mean, it's not for me. It's not for most of us here working for Final Cut Pro. Not saying that you couldn't use it in Final Cut Pro, just that it's not the first choice that I'd make for Final Cut Pro. Biased. I don't go to the very high-end extreme, like the Mac Studio with 512 gigabytes of memory. I don't go there. I don't go with the 8 terabyte SSD. I go down a little bit. I'm going to get a 2 or 4 terabyte SSD. 64 gigabytes of RAM. That's been fine. I don't know what MacBook Pro has, the 2021. 64 or 48, I presume. Maybe 32. I don't remember. I do not remember. But anyway, so the event that Apple was talking about, New York, London, Tokyo, whatever it was, is for the Neo. If I had gone to New York, not that I was invited, if I had gone to New York and the only thing they showed was a Neo, I'd be going, why did I go to New York for that? It's just not that exciting to me. But if it is for you, that's fine. I completely understand. Some people like that. Some people like that. So it's interesting. Maybe Apple have stopped offering the 512 gigabyte option for the M3 Ultra because the need to save the memory when they have purchased for the M5 Ultra should it materialize. Yeah, they did. That's what they said because of the memory shortage. It was $4,000. 512 gigabytes memory for the M3 Ultra was $4,000. So, yeah, they're not doing that. They stopped. That's way beyond what I'd ever need. I get by with 48, 64, maybe 120, 28. 96, 128, something like that would be plenty for me for the foreseeable future. I'm not doing any AI or whatever Final Cut Pro has. So I'm kind of surprised, as I said, I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't seen a bug fix for Final Cut Pro 12 yet, but it's whatever. So here's the deal. They have not yet announced the date for the Creative Summit, Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. The last we heard was last August. They said it was going to be we're canceling the Creative Summit for 2025. It was canceled. There was no Creative Summit in 2025. Therefore, it was canceled. They said 2026, we're going to have one in the spring. Well, spring is like now, starting now, so they have about 3 months, a little over 3 months to give us the date. They always give us at least 60 days, if not 70 or 80 days prior. They make an announcement 60 days ahead. That's the minimum people need to make arrangements. Flights, housing, hotels, taking off work, making arrangements with their families, et cetera, et cetera. So at this point, we're looking not March or April, looking at May or June as possible dates. Now, one of the criteria for having a Creative Summit is a new feature update to Final Cut Pro. There's absolutely no sense in having a Creative Summit without a new feature update around the Creative Summit. No, there's no sense in, just suppose they put it out, just suppose the Creative Summit's end of May. And they're not going to have any new feature update. They're going to talk about a January 28th release. That doesn't make any sense. So no, do not do a Creative Summit without a new feature update to Final Cut Pro. So we had it on January 28th, 6 months, which is typical for a new feature update recently, would put us at June the 28th. So, or July the 28th, one or the other, I don't know. Maybe it'd be July. But what they can do, and what they've done in the past, have a Creative Summit demo, show us new Final Cut Pro feature update that's forthcoming, that's coming in a month or coming in the fall. They could certainly do that because they've done it multiple times at the Creative Summit. They've shown us a version of Final Cut Pro that was not out, but is forthcoming. And they allowed us to talk about it. They said, yes, you can talk about it on social media. It's coming out before the end of the year or something like that. My guess, no summit till November. The promise of spring rings hollow. So, to be honest with you, that's very possible. And to be honest with you a second time, I prefer it to go back to November. I would prefer the Creative Summit to go back to November. The problem is, like I said, they have to do the Creative Summit in conjunction with the new feature update to Final Cut Pro. So there's a lot of juggling going on. Booking hotels, booking speakers, getting the Final Cut Pro team on board, coming out with a new feature update. So my best guess is, yes, it could be pushed back to November. The promise of spring rings hollow because they just had a big update January the 28th, Final Cut Pro 12. So they're not going to have another feature update in March and April. I would say another feature update probably is not coming until 6 months typically. So we had, here's what we got. Final Cut Pro 11, November of 2024. Final Cut Pro 11.1, March of 2025. Final Cut Pro 11.2, September of 2025. So each one of those is 6 months segments, a little less with November to March, but it's 5 months. But it's approximately a 6-month segment between feature updates. So we got it on January the 28th. I guess that would be July 28th, would be a 6-month feature update. But they could do it in June because 11 to 11.1 was only 5 months. November to March, 4 months. November, December, January. It's only 4 months. So They could do another, at this point, if they have it in the spring, which is technically until June 28th, May or June. And I wouldn't expect it to be beginning of May. I expect it to be toward the end. FMC is going to Europe in the middle of May, and WWDC is in June. So we'll have to see. They're not going to do a Creative Summit a week before, a week after WWDC because Apple's busy. So Apple's busy. It's a little just frustrating that they say, oh, we're going to have it in spring. We're going to have an announcement for you in December. Well, December came and went, and we don't have any announcement about the summit. We'll let you know about our plans later. So now it's March. We still don't know. And the thing is, I understand, like I said, I want to see a feature update at the Creative Summit, which would be 12.1 or 12.2, whatever the heck they want to do with it. Number-wise, I don't really care. Anything else going on in the world of Final Cut Pro? I've had Final Cut Pro Radio podcast for 11 years, 10 or 11 years I've had that podcast going. And then off and on during that 11 years, I tried to do a video podcast, Final Cut TV. Well, I came back around and started that up again. I rebooted the Final Cut TV video podcast. And so I have two Final Cut Pro podcasts, Final Cut Pro Radio and Final Cut TV video podcast. Both of them are on iTunes, of course. That's enough. I'm not going to do any more podcasts. I mean, it's just, yeah. Oh, I also was I was curious when I started this live stream on Saturdays. And I found Final Cut TV live streams as far back as, it's been a few years, 4 years, 5 years, but I'm not sure when I started them on Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock. That initially was Final Cut TV and Coffee, and then I dropped the coffee, and now it's just Final Cut TV. And so anyway, I think we're entering our 5th year, because it started in January, I think. This is our 5th year of doing these on Saturdays, or at least it's close to 5 years. Saturdays. What are we going to do about that? We're going to do, what are we going to do about that? We're going to do this. Because all you show up is why I keep doing it. And we also know that the Final Cut Pro Apps team watches this live stream. They don't sit down in a room and they all watch it. They just watch it at their leisure. So we also want to give a round of applause to the Final Cut Pro Apps team. Thank you very much for all the work that you do. We hopefully we're going to have an accelerated feature schedule coming up since Apple Creator Studio has done an influx of new cache into those. You know, the thing about Apple Creator Studio is a couple of things. The price is very reasonable. $12.99 for all those apps, if you don't own them, is a great, great deal. I own them. But as I've said before, I don't mind paying for the updates that we've got over the last 15 years. Not all of them, because some of them are stinkers, but most of them. I don't mind, you know, like I've said this multiple times, 15 years. I would not have minded a $99 upgrade fee every 5 years. Completely reasonable, no objection from me. So since they didn't do that, I'm going to have to subscribe a couple months here and a couple months there to get them some money. I mean, when I buy a Mac Pro or a Mac Studio or a MacBook Pro, whatever I'm buying, a Mac Mini, I'll get 3 months free. And after that, I mean, I wouldn't use it. At this point, I'm not going to use it. Maybe one of the templates in Keynote or something like that, or maybe one of the templates in Pages. That's how they're getting us from the standalone version to the subscription by offering this premium content, or in the case of Final Cut Pro, new titles, new generators, new transitions that are not in this standalone version, only in the subscription version. As long as you keep the feature parity going, we'll be fine. But like I said, I don't mind giving them money. So I'll subscribe a month here and a month there. But at this point, there's no reason for me to upgrade, to get this subscription. I just saw one from 2011. When you did buy the M1 Max with 64 gigabytes, okay. You saw one of the FCB TVs. That's 2011. No, it was 2021, not 2011. 2021, you mean? Yes, that's when I bought the M1 Max. Because I went to the store and bought it. I forget what happened. There was something weird. But 64 gigabytes, very, very... Let me just see something here. See that about this Mac? See, the problem is that I'm logged on to the Mac Mini with my MacBook Pro, so I can't just check it. But that sounds right. Because here's what I do. When I go through the specs, if an upgrade is $200, I get it. A CPU upgrade, $200, that's fine. A little memory upgrade from 48 to 64, $200, that's fine. Going from a 2 terabyte SSD to a 4 terabyte for $600, no. I'm not paying $600 for 2 terabytes. I'm not going to do that. So I get the 2 terabyte. That's what I've been using. And then I just try to keep it empty. That's what I've been doing. Random comment. I find it weird I can sync 2 audio files based off waveforms of Final Cut Pro, but not in Logic. Sure be nice for podcast editing in Logic. Sync 2. How do I sync them in Logic? Huh. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Is there a way to sync audio files in Logic? I don't know. I do it visually or whatever, or do a clap manually. Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that. Oh, time code in Logic, because if I bring in a group of files, I think one of the options is to sync by time code, not waveform. I think, anyway. I can bring in a whole session of files. Yeah, they're synced. They all go to the beginning of the timeline. That's one. You have different options in Logic Pro, but that's a good point. I find audio editing in Logic completely enjoyable compared to Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve. You can sync the clips with timecode, but not waveform or Logic. Okay, that's interesting. Huh. Never thought about it. Never had really any need to do that. Everything I have is timecode in Final Cut. So, are we going to see Final Cut Pro 12.0.1 this coming week? Are we going to see 12.0.1 in March? So one of the things that, let me just bring this up. one of the things, let me see if I have it there. There it is. Here we go. So let me pull this up. Let me do this. Let me see if I can do this. Oh, that's not the right one. What the heck? Here we go. This is the right one. So this is Post-Production World FMC. For NAB, and one of the things, so there's page 2, Saturday, there's Sunday, Monday. Now here's Tuesday. Tuesday is the day they're doing the Final Cut Pro track. Tuesday. But look what it says. Apple Creator Studio, room N2324, and everything is to be announced. There's nothing in their schedule yet. Yes, they did fix the header. I reached out and said it's not Final Cut Pro Creator Studio. It is Apple Creator Studio. So here's the thing. They fixed the header. Yes, they fixed the header. Last week, the header said Final Cut Pro Creator Studio. But Apple Creator Studio has 9 apps. They're not going to have 9. They're not going to do a keynote session and a pages session and a numbers session at NAB. So I'm not sure why it even says Apple Creator Studio. It should say Final Cut Pro. What they said was a Final Cut Pro track. They didn't say an Apple Creator Studio track, because an Apple Creator Studio track has 9. You're not going to do a keynote or a pages session at NAB or a numbers session at NAB. You're going to stick to Final Cut Pro mainly, little bit of motion, maybe 1 or 2 motions, maybe stick compressor in there. So it's not really Apple Creator Studio. You should say Final Cut Pro. That's what you said prior. That's what you said prior. You didn't say Apple Creator Studio. So I think they should correct that. Let me go over here. Just checking something. Still says very interesting. Let's go here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Here's what it says. Apple is partnering with FMC on an exclusive Final Cut Pro track at Post-Production World during NAB. It doesn't say Apple Creator Studio. I think it's just they're just waiting to fill that in with once they get confirmation of who's going to be there and what the subject matter is going to be. But it's not even an Apple Creator Studio track. Exclusive Final Cut Pro track. So they should change that from Apple Creator Studio, which has 9 apps, to Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro slash Motion if they want to. Just a little thing, if paying attention to detail. I'll get that information to them. I saw this week a nice video about the gas station, which is closing, a very nice one. It's got a lot of people. It's a gas station local, that's been around since 1970 or so, right up the road from us, that does semi-full service. It's not 100% full service, but they pump the gas for you when you pull up. And they've been doing it ever since. And it closed. It closed, and I went up there on the last day and interviewed the son. It's called Charlie's on Liberty Road. And I interviewed the son about being the last day and talking to him. It's got a lot of, on Facebook, it's got 8,000 or 9,000 views. On my YouTube channel, it's got about 800, something like that. People really, really like that. It's the last day. They call it full service, but they used to, when I was a kid, full service meant they would wash your windshield, and they would check your oil, and they would pump your gas. But nowadays, they don't wash the windshield, and they don't check your oil. They just pump the gas. They consider that full service. But anyway, it's closed down. There's no full service gas station close. There's one probably about 12, 13 miles away. I don't think I've ever gotten gas there, but I did get kerosene for a heater that I had at one point years ago. And they did the same thing. They came out and pumped the kerosene for you. Final Cut Pro team should throw you a birthday party in appreciation of all you've done for Final Cut Pro over the years. I bet that Apple could afford the party. Yeah, that's a good idea. My birthday's coming up, the first day of spring. It's on March the 20th. It's on March the 20th. That would be appreciated. They could give me a birthday party or give me a subscription to Final Cut Apple Creator Studio for a couple of years. That would be fine. That would be fine. All righty. I have a, 11:22. We're okay for a few more minutes. Anything else going on in the world of Final Cut Pro while we're here? We're here every Saturday. We are here every Saturday. Right up here. Oh, you know what? I got to stop doing that. You know what, though? Is that outline? Huh. Well, here it is. There's my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, notification over there at YouTube channel. And you can always go over here, buymeacoffee.com/Richard Taylor to show your appreciation. People have bought me coffees over the years when I go to NAB and report live, when I go to the Creative Summit and report live. And we're coming up on NAB, so I'm going to ask for some support there to help. If I do go to NAB, if you want me to go to NAB, I'm going to ask for some support over there at the Apple, at the Buy Me a Coffee place. But anyway, we should know this week maybe a couple of things. Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, what's going on with that? We should know what the Final Cut Pro track is at NAB rather than the Apple Creator Studio. They may use the Apple Creator Studio version. They probably will use the Apple Creator Studio version of Final Cut and Motion and Compressor and Logic, if they do a Logic thing, because they have extra stuff. Final Cut Pro's got extra titles, generators, and transitions in the subscription version. So I expect if they do a track, it is the version of Final Cut Pro from the Apple Creator Studio. And that probably is what they're going to do. That's what I would presume. It's a new version. That's what I would expect. little couple of squirrels down there. They like the bird seed that falls on the ground. You could see them right down there, the bottom of the bird feeder. Springtime is coming. Absolutely. Anything else going on in the world of Final Cut or post-production? Did I cover everything I told you about LumaFusion? No sound? It says, oh, I have sound. I didn't have it there. I don't remember if I had it there or not. So we have it back now. Did I switch? Did it? Wait a minute. Does that not have sound? It has sound. It has sound over there. I thought I turned it on. Yeah. So anyway, let's see what happens this week. Okay, I found the sound down. Yeah, that happens. Because I have a. You guys let me know when I mute myself and don't unmute myself. I have a cough button. Physical cough button, so when I have to cough, I can turn the sound out, but I have a little meter that shows me if the sound, but sometimes I forget it, obviously. And every time I switch one of these scenes, every scene has its own mute button in software. So if I have a scene and have the mute button, it'll mute the sound as well. So, anything else going on? Let me just see who's watching. A lot of people from X, YouTube, and Facebook. You turn down sound when taking a drink, right? Because my microphone is loud, and you don't need to hear me swallow. So that's why I do that. Mic up here. So, I was excited for the M5 MacBook Pros this week. Thank you very much, Tim Cook, for getting those to us. Now we need the Mac Mini Pro M5 and the Mac Studio, whatever they're doing with that, within the next couple of months, certainly by June, before the prices go up even higher because of the RAM prices. And I'll buy one of those probably. You know what they gave me? They offered me $1,220 for my 5-year-old MacBook Pro if I bought a new MacBook Pro. But only $768 for my 1-year-old Mac Mini Pro. So that's not such a good deal. I paid $3,000 something for it. It's not even 50%. So I'll have to see what I'm going to do. Right now, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine with both of these. Maybe I won't even get one. The problem is that prices are going up, of course. The RAM prices, even like a spinning disk. Like I said, the the Seagate drives that I get for backup, have gone up $70 in the last 2 weeks. So what are you going to do? I have a lot of those. I don't need any more SSD drives. I have LTO9 tapes. The LTO9 tapes are 18 terabytes for $99. So I get 18 terabytes for $99. It's strictly for backup. Strictly for backup. So it's cheaper than anything else. And I'm glad I got the 99. I'm glad I got the LTO9 a year and a half ago, because the LTO10, those tapes are like $250 or something ridiculous like that. Now they are 30 some gigabytes. Yeah, SD cards, you're right. 1 terabyte for $199, because I was looking at I have the micro SD cards. I have a 512 micro SD card and a 256 micro SD card for my Action 5 Pro, for my DJI Action 5 Pro. The interesting thing is, I found out, unfortunately, I did a taping. The 512 does not support 60 frames per second at 4K. The 512 doesn't work. Doesn't give me any error. Just when I go to play the files back, they're skippy and everything else. And I figured out it's the card, because the 256 does support 60 frames per second at 4K. So I have a 512 for 30 frames per second, and I have a 256 for 60 frames per second. So I was looking at getting another 512, and it's just like prices are crazy. I mean, they're not crazy, but they're getting there. But they are getting there. So I don't expect, unless something else happens, I don't expect any Final Cut TV live stream this week. But if Apple puts out 12.0.1, we'll come back on just for an afternoon and talk about that. Yeah, just because that's what I always do. And if they don't, we'll be back next Saturday at 10 o'clock. Right? Yes, and don't forget, subscribe, thumbs up, click the notification bell. 1 terabyte used to be $80. There you go. Yeah, it's about double in price. That's really expensive. So, what are you going to do? I am satisfied with what I got right now. With the Mac, with my 2021 M1 Max MacBook Pro, and my 2024, I bought this Mac Mini Pro, and everything's working fine. Final Cut Pro is working fine, except for that memory leak that I've got. All right, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate everybody stopping in, and don't forget the YouTube channel at Richard Taylor TV. And don't forget, you can buy me a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/Richard Taylor. No TV, just Richard Taylor. And people have bought coffees for me many, many times. But if you feel like supporting the channel, you can do that. We'll be back next Saturday. If not before, we will come back if something else happens. If I have a guest that I'm going to bring on during the week, which I do sometimes, we'll have to see how that goes. And go over there and listen to the podcast, Final Cut Pro Radio on iTunes. On Apple Music. No, it's podcast app. And now I have Final Cut TV, two podcasts. And this show is entering I believe it's our 5th year. We just entered our 5th year of doing these shows on Saturdays. So once again, thanks to everybody for coming back Saturday after Saturday. Thanks to the Final Cut Pro team for giving us a great application, even though they've started charging a subscription, which is a mixed blessing. They need to generate money, which I completely understand, and I support that. Just keep giving us feature parity. That's the main thing. Thanks for all the thumbs up that you came through today. Is there anything else before we leave? Anything else going on? I'll give it a minute for any more comments. Let's check outside before we go. No squirrels. No squirrels. All right. All right. Oh, look at that. I keep doing that. I lock it, and I have to unlock it. Lock it, and then I have to unlock it. I'm going to get out of here. If I don't see you during the week, I'll see you next Saturday at 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Eastern Daylight Time. not Eastern Standard Time. Where are your cats? So the one is sleeping, and then the orange one we had, she had to go to the kitty hospital and have some surgery, so she's recovering from that. That's Lucy. We prayed she's okay, but, the cats are definitely up there in age, so we've had lots of cats. We rescue the cats. They show up at our door. We take them in and keep them and feed them and get them to the vet and all that stuff. But Lucy had to go to the veterinarian hospital a couple weeks ago. She's doing okay right now. She's doing all right. But since she came back from the hospital, she now goes to find a place to sleep during the day because we make too much noise for her, I guess. And then she comes out at night, she's playful, and she gets her back rubbed and all that stuff. But anyway, I'll let you know what's going on with them in the future. Yep, clocks change tonight. That's right. So next Saturday will be Eastern Daylight Time, not Eastern Standard Time. 10 o'clock still. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. You're the best audience, Final Cut Pro Live audience of anybody. If we hear an announcement about the Creative Summit this week, I'll come back on live. We'll talk about it. If they fill out that schedule for NAB, we'll come back and talk about it. If there's an update, Final Cut Pro 12.0.1 bug fix update during the week, we'll come back on. So we might have an in the middle of the week, one of these Final Cut TVs. But if not, I'll see each one of you next Saturday. Thanks for tuning in. You're the best.